Good morning, my dear viewers. In today's class, we are going to learn the famous classical conditioning theory. This theory of classical conditioning was developed by a great Russian physiologist called Ivan Petrovich Pavlov. Pavlov was interested in learning the digestion in dogs. While studying the salivary response in dogs, he found out that the dog salivated even when it heard the sound of the footstep of the person bringing the food. Now, it's natural for the dog to salivate when the food is placed in the mouth, but it is not natural for the dog to salivate when it hears the sound of the footstep of the person bringing the food. And this observation led to the experiments on classical conditioning. Later, he started conducting experiments in more controlled setting. Now, he introduced certain terms like unconditioned stimulus, unconditioned response, conditioned stimulus, conditioned response, etc. Let us learn what it is. Now, the unconditioned stimulus is the food. So, unconditioned stimulus here is the food, because unconditioned stimulus brings the response of salivation naturally. So, unconditioned stimulus is the food and unconditioned response is salivation. Salivation to the food. So, when the food is placed in the mouth of the dog, it naturally salivates. So, unconditioned stimulus is food and unconditioned response to the food is salivation. Now, what did Pavlov do? He introduced the bell sound. Now, bell sound is a neutral stimulus. Now, what is this neutral stimulus? Now, the bell sound by itself cannot elicit a response. Okay, so it is called as neutral stimulus. But what did Pavlov do? He continuously paired the bell with the unconditioned stimulus. Now, unconditioned stimulus is the food. So, he paired the bell with the unconditioned stimulus for a number of trials, and it followed with salivation. Meaning to say that the dog salivated to the unconditioned stimulus, that is the food. So, he paired the bell. Soon after the bell was rung, the food was given, and resultant response of the dog was salivation. And the salivation was for the food. So, after a repeated pairing, after continuous pairing, what happened? The dog started salivating to the bell sound alone. The bell sound was heard by the dog. It started salivating even before the food came. So, because of this continuous pairing of the bell with the unconditioned stimulus, the dog could show the salivary response to the bell sound alone. Now, this bell sound became the conditioned stimulus. So, conditioned stimulus is the bell, and the response of salivation to the bell sound became the conditioned response. So, conditioned stimulus is the bell, and salivary response for the conditioned stimulus is called as conditioned response. What happened here is that the dog started salivating to the bell because it was continuously paired with the food. So, he found out that the dog has learned to salivate to the bell sound because the bell sound was paired with the unconditioned stimulus, and the dog knew that soon after the bell sound the food is going to come. So, what is classical conditioning? Here we learn that the conditioned stimulus, that is the bell, is likely to elicit the conditioned response of salivation because of the pairing with the food, that is the unconditioned stimulus, and conditioned stimulus is able to elicit the response of salivation which was earlier elicited by the unconditioned stimulus, that is the food, because of the repeated pairing or the association with the food. So conditioning is a process whereby the conditioned stimulus, that is the bell sound, because of its association with the food, is likely to elicit the same response which was earlier elicited by the unconditioned stimulus, that is the food. Conditioning occurs as a result of this learning process in the dog. So classical conditioning is a learning process based on association. So it occurs when a person or animal learns to associate a previously neutral stimulus with a stimulus that naturally produces a response. So after repeated association, what happens? The neutral stimulus alone can produce the learned response. So this whole process is called as classical conditioning. Therefore, classical conditioning can be understood as the learning through association between stimuli. Now, why this classical conditioning experiment is important? Now, this classical conditioning experiment is not just restricted to animals. Conditioning happens in human beings also. Most of our fears, most of our phobias, our anxiety, etc. is learnt through conditioning. So in the next class, I'm going to explain about how certain behaviors are the result of the conditioning. In the next class, we'll also learn about the principles of conditioning, like extinction, spontaneous recovery, acquisition, generalization, etc. Subscribe to my channel for more information. Keep watching. Thank you so much.